All right. We just did this about a week ago, right? Did you not get enough?
We're actually going to break up again individually now.
Is that? Yeah. We're not doing that. That one's over. All right, we'll get started here. Excited to have our players back today, to get those guys out there on the field tomorrow and get back to work. They've had a great summer. Coach Pittman, his staff, Brandon Pringle, Tyson Gale did a tremendous job this summer with our players. Thought we did some new things. That was very good. I think it showed with the development of certain guys, and having some veterans back, you need to be able to do those things and change it up a little bit. So really excited about seeing these guys put all that work onto the football field, and we will do that tomorrow. A couple things just injury-wise, and I'm not going to expand on these guys. Marcus Henry will not start camp, but will finish camp. So we expect that. Armand Nance will not start camp, but will finish camp. Eli McCullough will no longer be with the football team for medical reasons, and was here this summer, was not cleared, and that allowed for an opportunity to open up. So Sam Whitney, who was going to be a gray shirt, is now with us. And so Sam got here on Monday, will be here tonight, and will be at practice tomorrow. Got a scrimmage, open scrimmage, August 21st. We're looking forward to that, to having our fans out to see these guys play. That will be our second scrimmage, and to let these guys cut it loose a little bit in front of our fans. And so with that, we're ready. We've talked a lot. It seems like, it's this summer. I guess it's just the excitement of getting back out there. It seemed long. I know our players, they took a couple days off and went home. But being around today, there's a great vibe. And we're just looking forward to getting out there. We've got our new faces. I'm not going to go through all their names, but those guys have been here, have been working out. Don't know, where they're going to fit yet. We know these guys can play. We know that they work hard. We know that they show discipline in the classroom and on the field. Now we just have to figure out how they fit into our schemes. Do they fit this year? And that's all to be determined. So with that, we'll open up for questions.
He's got the mic, guys. So.
Offensively, going into camp, you've got so many guys back. What are your concerns on offense? What are the things you guys need to get accomplished here in the next 4 weeks?
Well, we have to get everybody back up. We have some new things that we're going to do, even schematically. These guys, it won't be anything that veteran player, wouldn't know or is going to be surprised by. But we do have some new things that we're working on. We have to get our quarterback situated. We need to figure out our running back rotation. We need to figure out our tight end rotation because we have some depth at that position. Whether we have 2 or 3 guys out there or 4 guys out there, we don't know. We just know we have depth, and where David Lucero and Chase Blakely, where those guys fit in. And so there's a lot of question marks there. O-line, we still want to move around. We go back to a few years ago and we had, 10 different combinations during the season. We're still going to have to work different combinations to make sure we're prepared for down the road. But the big things now are quarterback, the reps they get, how they go out there and operate the offense, our running back rotation, what that's going to look like, and getting those established are the main things that we have to get done. Thank you. All right. Go.
You obviously have some starters back at wide receiver, and some guys at tight end, but not a lot of depth in terms of proven playmakers. How important is it to see some guys kind of show you through camp that they can go out and make a big play for you?
Absolutely, huge. And like you mentioned, again, you look on the board there's guys that have made plays. Thomas Spurbeck made plays, but let's go back to Spurbeck when he emerged, in the Air Force game and catches the one back over his shoulder that nobody knows how he still caught it. and the type of player he became. So, Austin Cottrell, Rick Smith, A.J. Richardson, those guys, they're here. We've seen them in spring. We've been around them enough. Now it's really time to go. And we'll see them in fall camp, what type of plays they make. We'll have it all figured out of where they're going to fit when it comes to the Washington game and the game plan. But we're not going to know until we go out and play. That's the one thing. And so we're going to prepare the best we can, but there's no better way to get out there and find out what a guy can do until we get into game situations. And I think our scrimmage, when we do that, that'll be a good simulation of it. But we got a lot of work to do. I said that and I mean it. Even though we have as many guys coming back, that's great, but we're still, we're in year 2. We're growing, we're developing, and we have plenty of new faces that the guy in front of them, may not be there one practice. That guy has to step up, and we certainly don't want to go backwards when he does, and we just don't know that yet until we're able to work with him.
You spoke a little bit about the vibe coming into this year. How do you think things are different for you and the team coming into year 2 from year 1?
Yeah, I think that nervousness, I think that uncertainty, probably from the players and even the coaches, it's not there, and that's not a bad thing. At the same time, I also think what we've done this summer and what we're going to do in fall camp will challenge our staff, will challenge our players, that doesn't go away. I think that's a good thing. Every year is different. So I think guys have settled into this is the pattern of how we're going to do things. The way we do it, as far as the intensity, maybe who we do that with will change. And even the coach's demeanor as well. I mean, it's year 2. There's expectations, not just from the outside, but from ourselves. We want to be a whole lot better at certain things than we were last year. You pop on the tape from last year, there's plenty of things in there you're just going, boy, that was not good, that we have to get better at, and we will. And there's also a lot of things in there that we want to see guys be more consistent at, making plays that we believe they can do. They're older, they're wiser. More consistency is going to produce better results for us.
You talk about the offense, the questions there, but on defense, it doesn't seem like there's a ton of questions with so many guys coming back. What do you want to see from that group during camp? And I guess how do those guys kind of, I don't know if motivated is the right word, but how do they attack this camp with so many guys that have already, done some things here on the field?
Well, I think depth, if you're talking about everybody staying healthy, the depth situation is good. The secondary, not so much. We need to develop depth. And that's probably going to be young guys that are going to help us do that. As far as, you can look back on last season, there's plenty for our defense to go back and look at. And I promise you this, Coach Yates has pulled those clips out. We've looked at the stats. And, yeah, we won some games, and defense played well. Offense stepped up at times. Defense stepped up. But there's plenty of things that we've got to get better at. And in my opinion, even though the guys that played last year are back, I think they're hungry. I don't think they're satisfied with the way that we ended the year, even just totally, not just the last game, but overall. There's plenty to be desired there as far as what we can do on defense to get better. And, we're going to grow as well. We're doing different things on defense. That's part of the development. What does that mean going into game 1? I don't know. We might look different, we might look the same. I don't know that yet until we get these guys moved into different positions and see if they're capable of handling what we're asking them to do. But either way, I think you can just look at the numbers. We're not at the level we want to play at, so there's plenty of motivation there.
Can you run through the 4 quarterback candidates a little bit, and just kind of your thoughts going into fall camp, where those guys are, what you maybe need to see from them to take another step?
It's a good question. Yes, they all have to take another step. That's an obvious, because they're all young. The one thing is, whoever starts for us is going to be young. Grant was a senior last year. We are going to have a young quarterback. Ryan, last year got to see him play in the Air Force game, got to see him play in Wyoming. some good, some bad, plenty to work on. But I think he's had a great summer. I think he's taken the plays that he's been in real games. He's taken the scrimmage plays, the practice plays, and he's watched those. He's studied them, has a better idea of what his style probably is to make him the most effective quarterback he can be. Tommy Stewart, same way. I think Tommy's really just flipped the switch. That doesn't, from where he was to where he is now, he just understands things better. He was a good player in junior college. He was a good player in high school. Got here, Grant, new staff. Our focus is on just kind of getting ourselves established. And you know what? He was there, but wasn't getting a whole lot of reps. And as he started to get more reps, he got better. He started getting to his game a little bit and into his rhythm. Alex Ogle, same way. Alex is young, kind of thrown into the fire, this spring. Is one of the guys competing for the job, and we'll find out what he's learned from spring to summer. That was the biggest thing for him, is growth of just his knowledge of our offense, from when he left spring to the summertime. We'll find that out when we get into practice tomorrow. And then Rippon, he's a young guy, and every new quarterback, because he was a higher profile recruited guy, he does have stats and all that, everybody assumes that this is the guy, and he might be. He has to go out there and prove that. This is a different game. And I think he's had a very good summer. I think he's a very good student of the game. And again, he's going to need to be a lot more improved than he was in spring, all right, when he gets fall camp. And we'll find all that out. I mean, these guys, the first 2 or 3 days with everybody in that position in particular, we'll have a better understanding of what type of summer, what type of knowledge, and what type of confidence they've built going into this fall camp. And then we take it from there. And we'll put them, when you're training that position, you're going to put them in a lot of different scenarios. And they're going to be with the starters, with the backups, third string. They're going to have to do it all, because you want to watch them compete and you want to watch them in different environments and see how they handle it. And we just have to have time to do that. And we haven't had the time. We did in spring a little bit, and that was a good start for everybody. Summer they've developed, but fall camp is where it's all going to happen.
Having, been in a similar situation to what your quarterbacks are going to go through over the next month, what can separate a quarterback throughout fall camp? And how hard is it to also try to slow down the game for them? Because obviously it'll get a little quick come September 4th.
Yeah, we're not slowing it down. That's the one thing about having guys back. We're not going to slow it down. They have to catch up. We can't slow down the entire offense for the quarterback, and they know that. They've got to get up to speed. And to be quite honest with you, I think that's the best way to develop a quarterback, is having guys around him that understand. That gives you a little bit more confidence that guy's supposed to be here. I know he's going to be there, and all I got to do is do my job. I got to do it faster. Toughness, preparation, decision-making, accuracy, leadership will come. That's all going to happen. The other things have to happen first, but how tough is that quarterback? How does he handle, all the situations out there? How does he handle the coaching? What's his preparation like? What's his decision-making going to be? That's really simple. If you throw picks, probably not going to be the guy. All right, you throw touchdowns, you got a better shot. I mean, you got to come make good decisions. And the one thing I tell these guys all the time, they get frustrated, especially when you're competing. You want every play to be the play. And maybe the 3 plays that we scripted for you, they all suck. And you got to throw the ball away 3 times in a row. And I tell them that if that's the right thing, everybody else is going to boo you. I'm going to be the one that's going to pat you on the back and say that was the right decision. And that's the hardest thing when you're competing, because the perception of it is I failed, and the reality of it is, no, you didn't fail. You did exactly what we asked you to do. You didn't hurt our team, and you made the right decisions. Accuracy, they'll develop that. Coach Drinkwitz will help them with their mechanics, and we'll get better at it. Leadership will come through their play. I don't know if that's something that we necessarily need our quarterback to do right now. We just need him to play. That's what he needs to focus on. Go do your job and do it well. And have enough confidence in yourself and our staff that this is what your job is, and don't worry about everybody else. That's something, when you have a competition, you've got media, you've got family, you've got social media, you've got all these things that are distractions for them. They just got to be able to put that aside and focus on playing quarterback for Boise State, and then we'll make the decision of who that's going to be, and they'll be ready to play.
You were talking about depth. With Eli McCullough, I know Coach Huff was high on him, and I know him and Archie Lewis were both maybe going to try to push some guys for spots. What does that do for the depth at O-line, and how, I guess, comfortable are you with Archie and the other 5 and whoever else you may need to rely on?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with Archie. Jaron Ertel, he has to step up. That's one guy, at that tackle position. We were, really high on Eli, so Jaron's going to have to step up. Inside guys, you may have some guys that have to move around. If Mario has to move to tackle and play a little bit of that, we've got guys that can move around. We have length, we have size that we can move them from guard to tackle. Those young guys with Garrett Larson, John Molchon, Eric Cavedo, we'll see. I don't anticipate right now that those guys are going to be necessarily in the mix, but again, they've got to go out there and play, and if one of those guys shows they're able to do it, then you've got 3 guys that really have tackle-type bodies that could be in that position. So I feel confident in the guys that we have, that they'll be able to step up, that we can keep the rotation fairly similar to what it's been. And you know what? The other thing, if there's injuries, we'll be prepared for that as well. If that means a young guy has to play, then we'll do that.
It appears you've got your punter and your kicker settled, and you've got obviously a lot of guys you can return. What are your concerns special teams wise? What are you trying to get better at this fall?
Everything, and I know it doesn't really give you a great answer. Really, everything. We just want to be a better special teams football team overall. I mean, we talked about that quite a bit. We talked about it again today. We got to figure out personnel. Who are the best people on those units to go out there and play. We had some good ones last year, but that's going to change. Now we have more guys, David Lucero, Chase Blakely. Those guys are available. Joey Materano's available, Leighton Vander. There's more guys that are going to go out there and compete. That's going to make us better, I think, through competition. Anytime, and we'll see, Dan did a great job last year. We'll figure out what Tyler can do. We got to be able to score points. That's an offensive play. He's got to help us do that. Kickoff return, who that's going to be, I don't know, but we want to be a lot more explosive than we were last year. We want to be able to take one to the house. We want to be able to put our offense in great field position. Punt team, Sean's done a great job. I think Sean is a very good punter. I think he is just getting better and better. Always had confidence in him. Red zone punt is an area that I know he's worked this summer. It's an area that we'll continue to work on because that changes field position. And I know that's important to him as well. But the fun part about it is figuring out who those guys are going to be on the special teams. And Coach Ridd's got some new ideas. We've got some different wrinkles and things like that. But I'm more excited about the personnel and who that's going to be on the kickoff team and kickoff return. Bottom line is we're starting the game on special teams. That's going to be the first impression of the year. And whatever that is, we're certainly excited about the guys that we have to go out there and be on those teams. We just got to figure it out.
Coach, is there a different feel to competition for spots in a position where maybe quarterback or line seems like teams like they have one group to roll with versus receivers, defensive lines where they're willing to put in a whole bunch of different guys?
Yes and no. It depends. You want to. I think every day is a little bit different too. Some positions you can rotate, and it doesn't quite affect you as much in practice. And you let the coaches rotate. Some positions you need to be a little bit more consistent in who's in there and how many reps they get, just so the flow of practice goes well. Everybody's competitive. Sometimes it gets really hard to know that this guy's getting 4, this guy's getting 4, this guy's getting 3, and things aren't going your way, and you're ready to make that transition to the other player. And sometimes you don't want to do that because you want to win the drill. Well, that's where you have to, in my opinion, be a coach that can handle that and let that guy go get his reps, because at the end of the day, we want to win in practice, but we want to win in games, and we have to make sure that our guys get the opportunities, that we plan for them so we can make our decisions. And sometimes flow of practice, You know, you got to make those tough calls. And I'll be honest with you, if it's flowing, I want to keep a guy in. Sometimes we'll let that guy keep rolling because that also says something about your team. Like maybe this is the unit, maybe this is the guy, maybe this is the combination, you know, that we need to have. And you got to allow that to happen too. So it's not scientific; it's a feel.
Running back's a position that's going to look different this year, obviously. Have you had any time to think about how you think that rotation's going to go? We do.
You know, but that's one, it's going to be different, you know, probably from even team period to team period. You know, if Jeremy McNichols starts and Kelsey Young follows and then Corey and then Devin and then Jack, the next team period might be Jack and so on. So it's just, you know, there really is there's a pecking order of how we're going to start, but there's really no specific rotation at this point. And, you know, we get into those first padded practices, we get into 4 and 5 and 6 when we're in pads, you're going to see a lot more out of the backs. You know, just the physicality, the mentality, how they're running the ball, how they're seeing the hole. Then the rotation will start to change a little bit because you'll see a guy get into a rhythm. Once you see that, that's what you're hopefully trying to find.
Coach, last year, when you took over, the team was coming off an 8-5 season. Coach Pete had left. There was a lot of questions, you know, about the direction of the program and that type of thing. And, you know, this expectations maybe weren't as high. This year, you know, you're coming off the win. You're ranked preseason top 25. You're being asked about going undefeated at media days. I mean, it seems like it's back to where the target's kind of on your guys' back again. How do you kind of look at the outside, you know, expectations of this team and how you kind of keep your guys focused, you know, going into the season?
I look at it as business as usual. You know, and from being here, that's Boise State. You know, the expectations when I was the coordinator here, when I was the tight ends coach, they're not any different. So it's business as usual. I certainly like the fact that, you know, we're on that side of things rather than the other side of things. And the expectations from outside, what could and could not happen, we can't control that. We can control in these walls what we talk about and what we do. We certainly have the same expectations. We expect to win. Guys that come to Boise State expect to win. We talk about that in recruiting. We talk about it here. That's no secret. How we do it and how we go about it, that's the key. And just because what we did last year has nothing to do with this year. Not at all. We have a different team. We have different players. Some guys are in different positions. We're playing a different group of teams throughout the season. And if we think that has anything to do with this year, what we can draw from that experience, we can draw from some of the confidence that we got from last year. But business as usual at Boise State, and you know that's how we'll approach it. We'll go back out there and we'll go to work and we'll work really, really hard, and we'll prepare really hard, and we'll be ready to play when it's time.
Getting back to the running back situation, obviously last year you had a guy that did so much so well. So as you do figure out, you know, a pecking order, depth chart, whatever, is there more time spent on figuring out who fits best in what specific roles this year?
Not yet. Not until we let these guys, you know, again, think about this now. If we'd have done that with Jay and he played only his specific plays, Jay wouldn't have had the year he did. We wouldn't have the year we did. Bottom line. So let these guys go play. If a guy can carry the ball 35 times, let's figure it out. And we just don't know that yet. You know, I don't know if we'll know that until the third or fourth game. But we got to allow these guys to go out there and have a chance to be the guy and get the reps and establish himself rather than just saying, we don't have Jay, we got to have 3 guys and they're all going to have to be specialized and they all have to do certain things and we just pigeonhole them into that position. I don't know. You know, Jack Fields might be able to run the ball like Jay did. We don't know. I didn't know Jay. I saw him the year before, had no idea. And when you tried to pull him out and he said no, okay. You know, everybody's questioning why we keep him in there. We won't come out. You know, it's hard to say that. But, you know, that's how it played out. I didn't know that. I didn't know that when the season was going on. He just stayed in. He carried the ball, and he kept getting better as the game went on. And we figured it out and let him stay in there and play. So we just got to allow these guys the opportunity to do that before we start to decide what the rotation and who's going to specialize. Just because Doug did it, Avery was out there, DJ Harper. Just because we did it that way doesn't mean we have to do it this way or do it that way again.
Still on the running backs. So Jeremy McNichols has never.
All right, here's a starter. I'll just tell you. Yeah.
He's never really been asked yet since he's been here to be an every down style of runner, just because of his role last year and being out in spring. One, are your confidence in his ability to step into that type of a role? And then Devin Demas has been productive in spurts through his career, but has never had regular playing time. I wonder kind of what's held him back and what he needs to do to get more regular time.
I certainly have confidence in Jeremy. I don't know if he's got that yet. I mean, like I said, we have to wait and see. Jay's not here, and when you have a player like a Jay Ajayi and he does what he did last year, you know, it's the same thing. Like, now what do we do? You know, this guy was so dominant. You give these guys their opportunity to see if they can dominate that way. So Jeremy, Jack, all those guys, they're going to get that chance. And the thing about Jay was consistent. You know, Jay hung on to the football for the most part. Jay was physical. Jay made plays in the pass game. Jay made plays when we needed plays to be made. We'll see if those guys can do that. Devin has had a great summer, done a great job. I think it's opportunity. I think there's been guys like Jay. I think there's just been, you know, those type of situations. He's been behind guys. And so now he's got an equal opportunity to go out there, and when he gets his touches, make the most of them. Devin's a guy that can take it. If he breaks free, no one's going to catch him. You know, he's got that ability. He's got to break free. You know, he's got to hang on to the football like all the other backs. He's got to put himself in that position to where he can really utilize just this skill that he has of speed and to make big plays. We've seen that. So that all remains to be seen. I think the one thing for everybody that's going to be out there when we start the game, I mean, consistency is what it comes down to. You know, who's out there performing day to day consistently and performing at a high level? That's usually going to be the players that go out there and start for us.
Time for a couple more guys. Still got like 4 weeks until the first game. When inside this process do you start focusing on Washington specifically and putting in a game plan and that type of stuff?
Yeah, about 8 weeks ago. Yeah. We've done, you know, for our opponents, we've already watched, you know, we've watched tape on our opponents, not just Washington, all of them. You know, you got some new coordinators, you got on both sides in some of our teams in our leagues. And, you know, so we go back, we study it, we look at, you know, what we're getting ourselves into. So we have an idea, we have somewhat of a game plan that kind of helps us through fall camp, you know, with certain things we want to do. We start to get into that when school starts up. You know, we really start to focus on Washington and again, you know, it is about our opponents, but it's really about us. We have to be good at what we do. And we really continue to focus on us and that package of who's going to be in there in this personnel group, you know, what's the best combination, all right, this fits. Something that we may thought was going to be good against Washington, BYU, Idaho State, Virginia, we run it in fall camp, we're just not good at it. And so we have to be able to wipe that out and do something that we are. And we find out, because we'll put new things in as camp goes on, there'll be ideas that come up, so let's try this. That becomes a play that we end up utilizing that we didn't even know we had. All right, we made up something new. So when school starts and we get into that mode, you know, we really get into that Washington thinking now. You know, you're more into that just routine of school, football. All right, it's time. Now the season's here and just that game is coming. Let's get ready for it. We've prepared ourselves. We know our team. We've got a better idea of what's going to fit and work. Let's get ready for Washington.
Obviously, when you came in here last year, it didn't seem like you necessarily had to change too much culture or anything, but the staff seemed to put their own twist on it. And time with Darian down in Mountain West Media Days, you know, continuing to echo confidence and swagger and stuff like that. How have you seen the guys kind of feed off that message that you know the staff kind of brought here throughout the offseason, and how does that carry momentum into the early dog days of fall camp?
Yeah, yeah, I was really proud of our staff. I think we came in here to attack it, and I don't know how much different. I've always felt that way when I was here before. You know that I was here. We were here to attack. We were here to get better. We were here to improve, and Whatever happened during the period of time I was gone, you know what, we came back and I think we reestablished some things, and we did some new things. And we had new staff members on here, on the staff, that brought new ways and new approaches and a new mentality and a new attitude. And you know what, that doesn't change. That hasn't gone away. I don't feel like anybody on this team or this staff feels established, like we've got it figured out at all. I think we're all eager to get back out there. We all have a prove-it mentality, and equally as excited, you know, as we were last year, probably even more so, you know, because now we've got more ideas and maybe better ways to do it. We screwed up a bunch of stuff last year, you know. I mean, nobody knows. It ended up being pretty good as the season turned out, but there's plenty of things in there. It was like that was not good, and we learned from it. And so we'll go back out again this year like our players, and we'll attack it. We're going to make mistakes this year. We'll learn from it, but hopefully it turns out to be successful for us again when it's all said and done.
All right, guys.
Okay. All right. Thank you.